Hi guys, welcome back to Children's Church at Home. We have an awesome story from Sarah Williams for you today, so I hope you guys enjoy it.
Hi, I'm Sarah, and some of you might remember me from the memory verse from a few weeks ago. And before we get started on the Bible story, I actually want to go over that verse from a few weeks ago because it ties into our story today. If you don't remember it, that's okay. That's why we're going over it. It was Ephesians 2:8, and it says, "For by grace are you saved, through faith, not of yourselves. It is the free gift of God." So today's story is one that you've probably heard before, about Abraham and Sarah. So Abraham and Sarah were married, and they were getting kind of old, and they hadn't had any kids yet. But God made a promise to them that they would have a son. Well, because they were getting kind of old, they were getting a little impatient. They thought that they weren't able to have any kids anymore. So Sarah, Abraham's wife, told Abraham to marry her servant Hagar so that maybe they could have a son, and that would fulfill God's promise. So Abraham did what Sarah said. He married Hagar, and Hagar gave birth to a son named Ishmael. Well, this isn't the son that God promised. God promised Abraham and Sarah their son Isaac. And God kept his promise. When Abraham was 100 years old, guess what happened? Isaac was born. And this is one of the great lessons that we can learn from this story, is that God always keeps his promises. But we gotta wait for his timing. And for Abraham, that was until he was 100 years old. That's kind of crazy. I don't know anyone who's lived to be 100. And there's also another promise that we can learn from this story that you wouldn't exactly see at first glance. I know I didn't, and I just learned about this recently, and I'm so excited about it that I want to share it with you. So, when you would read the story about Abraham and Sarah, you would usually go to the very first book in the Bible, Genesis. But we're actually going to be looking at the back of the Bible in the New Testament in the book of Galatians. The book of Galatians was written by the Apostle Paul. Do you know why the Apostle Paul had to write the book of Galatians? Actually, it was a letter. It was a letter to these churches that he had started in this place called Galatia. That's why this book is called Galatians. And in Galatia, in these churches, there were some people called false teachers. And these false teachers were going into these churches and telling these people that you have to obey the law in order to earn your way to heaven. Now, we know that this isn't true because of verses like this that tell us we are saved by grace, through faith, not of ourselves, which means that it's not by what we do, by obeying the law. So these people in Galatia were starting to believe this, that they had to obey the law to earn their way to heaven. And so Paul had to write a letter to them and say, no, that's not the gospel that you accepted before. That's not the gospel that I preached to you. And so one of the examples that he uses to prove his point that we are saved by grace is the story of Sarah and her servant Hagar. So before I read this, there's a couple things you gotta know. When Paul refers to the slave woman, he's referring to Hagar. And when he says the free woman, that's referring to Sarah. And so I'm just going to go ahead and read the story. We're in Galatians chapter 4, verses 21 through 24. You who want to be under the authority of the law, tell me something. Don't you know what the law says? It is written, Abraham had 2 sons. The slave woman, so that's Hagar, gave birth to one of them. The free woman, so Sarah, gave birth to the other one. Abraham's son by the slave woman was born in the usual way, but his son by the free woman was born because of God's promise. Those things can be taken as examples. The two women stand for two covenants. One covenant comes from Mount Sinai. It gives birth to children who are going to be slaves. It is Hagar. So, Paul is kind of giving us a picture here. He's using the story of Sarah and Hagar as an example. And in this story, Sarah is representing grace, and Hagar is representing the law. And so, we have something called a free will. And this is the ability that we have to make choices. And one of the choices that we get to make, this is going to sound kind of weird, but we have the choice to choose who our mother is. Not literally. I know that sounds kind of weird, but we can kind of choose to be either Ishmael, who was born of the law, or Isaac, who was born of grace. And so, if you think about your real mother, she has authority over you, and we get to choose who we want to have authority over us. Do we want it to be the law? Do we want to be under the authority of the law? Or do we want to be under the authority of God's grace? So these people in Galatia, they were under the authority of God's grace until these false teachers came in and started teaching the gospel of legalism. Legalism means basically that you have to obey the law, that you have to do all these certain things in order to earn your worthiness. So these people in Galatia were choosing to be Ishmael, who was under the authority of the law, when really we can choose to be Isaac, who is under the authority of God's grace. And when we are under God's grace, it's kind of like if your mom asks you to unload the dishwasher and you decide, no, I don't feel like unloading the dishwasher today, so I'm not going to, and you don't do it. Does that change your mother's love for you? No, of course not. Well, you still disobeyed her, and she's probably a little disappointed because you didn't do what she asked, but she's still gonna love you the same amount. Now, let's say that your mom asks you to unload the dishwasher and you say, okay mom, and you go and do it. Now, if you're like me, unloading the dishwasher probably isn't your favorite chore, but we do it because we want to show our moms that we love them. And we know that their love isn't dependent on anything that we do, but they're still gonna love us even if we disobey, but we can show them that we love them by obeying them. This is the same with God. We obey God not because it's what gets us into heaven, but because that's how we can show God that we love Him. Now, there's one more thing that I want to go over. You might be asking yourself, well, there probably still aren't these false teachers around today. Well, yes, there are. There are lots of people that say that we need to do things to earn our way to heaven. That's what all these other religions are in the world. Did you know that the biggest thing that separates Christianity from all other religions is grace? We are saved by God's grace. Every other religion in the world will tell you that you have to obey the law and you have to obey God's rules and His commandments in order to earn your way to heaven. So we got to be careful to watch out for these false teachers and hold on to truths like this that tell us that we are saved by grace through faith. And so that's a challenge that I have for you guys. To memorize this verse here, Ephesians 2:8, and remember that truth in your head. So whenever you hear someone telling you that, oh, you have to earn your way to heaven, you can know, nope, that's not true. I know what God says about me and how I'm saved. And there are lots of other verses in the Bible that talk about God's grace. And I would encourage you to go and find some and read them and share them with your parents. So that's it for the story today, and I'll end on a prayer. Dear Lord, I thank you for all these kids, and I thank you for your word and these books like Galatians that you gave to us that can guide us back to your grace and that can teach us that we are saved by your grace through our faith and not by the works that we do, and that your love isn't dependent on anything that we do, but you will love us no matter what. Thank you for your grace. In Jesus' name, amen. Well, bye!
Wow, that was awesome. Thanks so much. Don't forget, you guys, to draw some pictures to send in from that story. And now I'd like to give you guys an opportunity to pause, and instead of questions, we're just going to have you talk about what you learned with your family. What did you like about it? What did you learn? I hope you guys had some good conversations. So now I'm going to show you some pictures from last week with the parable of the soils. So our first picture is from Lillian, and I really like this. I like how it's divided into the 4 sections, and it shows each part of it. I like Gideon's as well. It's pretty similar. Very creative. I really like these, you guys. Brielle's is also similar. This one's really good. I like all the colors. It's very well done. It's just beautiful. And then the last one is from Elena, and it's just so adorable. I love it. It's so cute. So now I just again like to remind you, don't forget to draw your pictures from this week's story. And the Loghrys did our memory verse for this week, so go. I hope you enjoy that.
Hi everyone, I'm Ryan. This is Jack. That's Roy, and this is Stella. And Angela's behind the camera. This is our favorite verse. The Lord was gracious to Sarah, just as he said he would be. The Lord did for Sarah what he promised to do. Genesis 21, verse 1. All right. Roy, why is this verse important to us?
Because it shows that God always keeps his promises no matter what.
That's right. Do you want to give an answer? Why is this? No? How about you, Jackie? Why is this verse important to you?
I don't know.
You don't know? Okay, that's fair. All right, let's say that verse again. The Lord was gracious to Sarah, just as he said he would be. The Lord did for Sarah what he promised to do.
Genesis
21:1. Good job, Jackie. All right, now you kids say it with us this time.
Yeah.
The Lord was gracious to Sarah, just as he said he would be. The Lord did for Sarah what he promised to do. And that's Genesis 21:1. All right. Good job, everybody.
Now you guys can practice it at home with your parents. Yeah. And talk about it. Yeah. Just in case.
That's right. You should talk about it.
Yeah. Have fun. Yeah. Have a good day.
All right, now we're going to repeat it again. Let's say it again for him, guys, okay?
Okay.
The Lord was gracious to Sarah, just as he said he would be. The Lord did for Sarah what he promised to do.
Genesis
21:1. All right, now you kids at home say it by yourselves. Everybody here?
What are you doing?
Okay, you kids at home say it now.
Remember, Dad, you gotta be quiet. Yeah. Be quiet there. Bye. Bye.
All right, good job. We're going to repeat the verse one more time, all right? The Lord was gracious to Sarah, just as he said he would be. The Lord did for Sarah what he promised to do. Genesis 21:1. All right, you guys. You did a great job today. Keep practicing that at home. Anybody else want to say anything? All right.
We miss you guys.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Love you guys. Woo. Bye. You can stop it now.
That was awesome, guys. Thanks so much. I would just like to take a second to tell you all that this is my last Children's Church at Home video because I'm going to be pretty busy. I have my finals next week for school that's all online, and then this summer I'm going to be a counselor at a summer camp, and so I'm going to be pretty busy, so we figured that this would be a good time to end it. So I just want to say I love you all, I miss you, and I know that my next crew is going to do a really great job. We're not sure exactly what it's going to look like, but I know it's going to be really fun, and I hope you guys enjoy it because...
Breaking news here on the JJN network. Our investigative detectives in the art department have found a missing artwork that was supposed to be in the show earlier today. We have it here now from Miles, showing our excellent depiction of the four soils.
Well, can I just say, Jacob, this is an excellent piece of artwork. You can see the attention to detail in each different type of soil, indicating how God works in us. And I just think it's truly fantastic.
Super superb soil.
Yes, very much. Thank you, Miles, for this amazing piece of artwork. In other words, we will now be taking the place of Becca as the Children's Church directors.
What?
Yeah. It's our job now. We're just taking over because they needed us, and, you know, that's what we do. That's what we do.
It is?
Yeah.
Oh. That's what we do?
I guess he didn't know about that, but we're going with it. Actually, we've decided it's going to be called the Josh and Jacob Network. So, Josh first, Jacob second. Is that?
I thought we talked about this, Josh. I think it's Jacob, Josh.
I think Josh and Jacob rings better.
No. Jacob, Josh rolls off the tongue much better.
But my name's better, and so I think it should go first.
It's alphabetical, Josh. Jacob, Josh.
You know, I'm done. I can't stand for this anymore. It's the Josh and Jacob Network.
Jacob, Josh.
You know what?